So here we are talking about Vancouver, a place that has many positives. But since nothing is perfect in this video, let's talk about some of the negatives. Simply put, I believe there's more positives than negatives, but let's take a look anyways. If you're interested in Vancouver, subscribe to this channel. We do lots of home tours, neighborhood tours, and just share a lot of information about the city. Below this video, I'll leave my Instagram account and my email address. If you have a specific question that you want to ask me, I will get back to you, and let's get into the video. Number one is the foreign buyers ban, and this one actually applies to all of Canada as of January 1st, 2023, so just recently. So if you were set on buying a property in Canada or Vancouver, as soon as you get here, you may not be able to do it unless you're a permanent resident or have lived here your whole life, or at least for 2 years, because the foreign buyers ban has a length of 2 years. This was implemented by the government here in Canada, and the goal was to make housing more affordable for the people who live here. With less foreign investment, less properties are being bought and more properties are staying around the same price, and prices kind of aren't going like this. That's the idea. This one may not apply to you if you're already a Canadian citizen or have PR, but for those of you who aren't, this might be an interesting thing to know. There's also a few loopholes, such as if you have a work permit here in Canada and you're actually working right now, you may be eligible to still buy a home. But the main thing there is that you have to be able to prove that your goal is to actually buy a property and stay and reside in Canada and get your PR at some point. They don't want people just buying and then leaving. And another way to get around the ban is buying in certain areas that allow foreign investment still. For example, Whistler and Pemberton, those are two towns about 2 hours away from Vancouver where I actually do business in, and those are two areas where you can still buy as a foreign investor. If you're interested in finding out what those areas are, you can again send me an email, send me a message, and I can give you a map of where you're actually still able to invest. Usually those areas are like towns that have less than 10,000 people living in them. So they're smaller towns, but they can still be really nice. Number two is the cost of living. You've probably heard this point before if you've watched any videos about Vancouver and what it's like here. The reason I mention this point is that, all across Canada, there's different minimum wages, and there's also different average salaries per area, and also different average living expenses. Vancouver and Toronto are the most expensive cities in Canada to this extent. If you got a minimum wage job, that will pay you just over $15 an hour. A lot of people get these minimum wage jobs when they first move to a city, or maybe they moved from, another country, and this is all they could get right away. That minimum wage job, just over $15 an hour, amounts to around $2,500 a month. And the average price for a one-bedroom apartment to rent in Vancouver and also Toronto, it's pretty similar, the numbers right now, is $2,500 a month. This is why you'll see a lot of apartments being rented out to multiple people. A 2-bedroom apartment usually has 2 people in it, or a 3-bed apartment usually has 3 people. In some cases, a 2-bed apartment might have 3 people and someone lives in the living room because rent is very expensive and expenses are high here. And usually the more rooms or roommates you have in a place, the less it will cost you specifically. So unless you have a really good high-paying job that you can already have or keep when you move here, or you have a significant other or a friend to move with, you may be looking at finding some new roommates. Depends on everyone's situation, of course. You may not need roommates and you can skip this whole point entirely. Lucky you. It's actually kind of a Vancouver joke that if you have a spouse or like a girlfriend or a partner, that it's like a life hack because all your expenses can be split in half, and that does a lot in Vancouver, so it's kind of funny. So I always recommend that if people don't have a job lined up that they know can cover all their bills, they should move here with some kind of savings in their account in case they need to take from it. And if you do want to know how much it costs per month to live here, I just made a video that I will link up here that is how much it costs me per month to live in Vancouver. Number 3 is the rain and the winter season in general. But I will preface this by saying that this is only a major point if you're from somewhere that doesn't get any snow, or if you're from somewhere that gets like sun 80% of the year. Currently it is January, one of the winter months. It's gray and it's kind of rainy outside, but a lot of places in Canada in the winter months you would have snow everywhere and ice, and it would be cold. In Vancouver we usually just get the gray clouds and some rain. That's mainly because Vancouver is one of the warmest cities in Canada. I think it's number 2 or 3, so it actually doesn't get cold enough a lot of the time in the winter season to turn the rain and the moisture into snow or ice when it comes down. So instead we get the rain. There are times where it will rain for 2 or 3 weeks straight, then we'll get 1 day of sun, and then it'll be 2 more weeks of rain. And for snow, there's usually around 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks that we have snow on the ground, or it's like continuously snowing, which is kind of like the perfect amount in my opinion. You build some snowmen, do some snow angels, and then it goes away before it gets annoying, But if you're someone who actually loves like skiing or snowboarding, you can still go to the mountains nearby because there's more snow, higher elevation of course. So if you're from a place that's sunny like 24/7 like LA or something like that, you will notice a difference. I moved from somewhere else in Canada where it was actually not as sunny all the time, so moving here, I didn't even feel a difference. The rain was already normal to me. And in the summers, you can expect between like 20 degrees to 40 degrees Celsius, just to give you an idea. Number 4, you need to know if you have pets. The more pets you have, the harder it is to find a place to live. This may surprise a lot of people. I'm not saying that it's impossible to move here with a pet, but what you need to know is that it will be harder for you to find a place to live, especially if you have more than one or more than 2. Pet restrictions are the reason for that. They're more strict here than a lot of other places. This is mainly because we have a lot of apartment buildings and just joint housing together, not as many single family homes. If you have a single family home and you own the whole property, you're the sole owner of it, you can, kind of do whatever you want. But if you live in an apartment building, for example, the strata, which is a group of pretty much the people who live in the building, they get together and vote once in a while on things that are going on in the building. Like, are you allowed to have pets? How many pets are we allowed to have? When does the gym stay open? Is it 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. when it closes? They vote on stuff like that. So it's not always in your control if a building is going to allow you to have a pet in there or not. And if you just move in with a pet, they may fine you every single month until you get rid of or like move the pet somewhere else, or you move out, or they may just be able to evict you and get you to move out. This can also apply in townhomes or other areas that are like apartment buildings where it's a shared space. As an example of this, I'm helping some clients currently who have 2 dogs, and instead of their criteria having 200 options, which we were looking at originally, once we select, okay, we need a place that allows 2 dogs, it goes down to about 40 options, 30 or 40. So that gives you an idea of like how many places allow pets. I would say most don't. Again, especially when you have multiple. So keep that in mind, that even when you're buying, not just renting, but when you're looking for a place and you have pets, you may have a harder time finding a place than people who don't have pets. That's also because you have a pet and other people who have pets are looking for the same pet allowing places to live. But do know this, that the government and the mayor here in Vancouver are talking about abolishing this rule altogether, because even they know that it's an issue and it's giving people a hard time to find a place if they have a pet. So if you're watching this video in the future after I've uploaded it, make sure to search online if pets are allowed everywhere in Vancouver now, because they talked about discussing it in 2023. We just haven't heard anything yet, but I think it will be gone in the future. So that was it. I just wanted to make this informative video about Vancouver and some of the real estate things to know here as well. I have a whole playlist of Vancouver videos that you can check out up here if you're interested in learning more about the city. You can also leave comments on this video. I will answer them, or email me or DM me on Instagram. In the next video, we'll be touring one of Vancouver's most popular neighborhoods and learning all about it. So turn notifications on and give this video a like if it helped you out. With that said, I'll see you in the next one.